What up, y'all? Today's episode, we're gonna deep dive into, the first few episodes of Bel-Air, first 4 episodes. Got a chance to watch them all now. Well, saw the first 3 when they dropped. Watched the last one Thursday, but seen them all now. I like where the show is headed. That I do. But I do want to have a conversation about the characters in the show and how they highlight a lot of the problems that go on in our culture. You get hints of feminism in there. You got the woke movement that's in there. You got the Pookie and the educated lame, which I'll touch on because unfortunately, Carlton and Will exemplify one of the biggest issues in terms of, men is the Pookie and educated lame conversation and how misunderstood and how mislabeled sometimes the Pookie is. And I guess that I always used to say when women would talk and say, you guys don't have the light skin, dark skin conversation. And I would say, no, men really don't have that conversation. But I guess our equivalent to that would probably be the Pookie and the educated lame conversation, the lame and the cool kid conversation. So we got that. We got marriage life. We have Black men being made to feel guilty for being successful, and being made to feel ostracized, made to feel like sellouts as they climb the ladder, escalator style. So I guess we'll start off with the character we know the least about so far, which is Ashley, which we, through the first 3 episodes, there was the conversation of, hey, we're not really being forced to have the LGBTQ conversation at this point. And then there goes episode 4. And that conversation is here now. So, Ashley is looking for the girl Lucia. You got the dude with his arms around her. And he thinking he getting ready to get fresh and try and get some play with Ashley. And you can tell she feel awkward and uncomfortable. Dude don't have a clue. Not bad. Put this on the vibrate. So you get Jeffrey come in and kibosh the whole thing, set it up for her and Lucia to be together. And that thing kind of end with them. I think she was holding her hands when she was thanking him for coming, and it was kind of like that extended arm hand grab. So we'll see what goes on from there. And they also highlight they have everybody almost the opposite complexion of what they were on the show, except for Will and that Viv. I wonder if that's and Jeffrey. But Uncle Phil was lighter than this guy. Ashley was the only dark-skinned child. Now she's the light-skinned one. Hillary and Alfonso were more brown-skinned, light-skinned. Now their characters are dark-skinned. So I wonder if that was purposely done to kind of just change the aesthetics of it some. But you get into the whole Will Carlton conversation. And Will is viewed. You know what? We'll go Hillary first. Because the other conversations are multi-layered, so we might as well get the minute out first. But with Hillary's character, she's a person not comfortable in her own skin yet. And that's also the problem I have when I have conversations with men and this. No, I know this woman. Or Hillary is what you would call the ultimate representative. This is what you see. Now, in her quiet hours, she's the ordinary black girl. But when it's showtime, she's the entrepreneur, the girl with the smile. There's some insecurities there, though, you can see. She doesn't feel super confident in herself that she can actually get it done. But when the cameras come on, she's ultra confident and charismatic. So now when people meet her, they say, what? Oh man, she's not insecure. She's charismatic, ultra confident, but that's not the case. That's not what you see from her, when she's having those one-on-one conversations with Will or with her mother. Those insecurities come out. But being, I think it is a social media tastemaker or whatever that is. In those stages, she's trying to do what? Come off as if she's confident in what she's doing. Now, you can fake it till you make it, but only to a certain level. At a certain point, you must truly believe you are the one. But a character, again, like Hillary is, you begin to act this way for so long, you become that person. So now, the guy she meets, he's going to meet ultra confident, not insecure. But who she is who she is. And all of those things will come out and be flooded into a relationship one day. So as those things get flooded into a relationship, you weren't this way in the beginning. No, it's just with you, I can finally be who I really am. That's crazy and weird all at the same time, which is why I tell you a lot of times you're going to meet a woman as representative. First 2-3 years you meet her, which is why I tell you it should really be 3 to 5 years before you even think about proposing to a woman or getting married. Because through those 3 to 5 years, there's only so long a person can pretend to be something. So you have a lot of people and dating coaches, hey, 6 months. You either know it, you either know this is it or you don't. No, that's hasty. That's very hasty because it's not really hard to keep the mask on for 6 months. Everything is still brand new. As time goes on, though, the mask got to come off. So you get married the first 6 months or to a year, you don't know who you married. And by the time the mask come off, we could be 3 to 4 years into this relationship. You married already. And now you have a woman who's tormented. She's fighting who she really is with who she represented and presented to you. So now she's jumping in and out. And in the moment she cheats, or the moment she decides that she wants out of the relationship, what is the thing she says? I don't really feel like I could be myself here. Now, for you, you've always been thinking, I've created nothing but space for you to be who you want to be. So what do you mean you don't feel like you could be yourself here? It's because she knew she married you and hooked you under false pretenses. So she'll flip that. A chick like Hillary will flip that and have you thinking that's all your fault. At the end of the day, you can hold her down, make it all about her, be very supportive of her, and give her everything you need, what she needs, support-wise. If her shine is not bigger than yours at the end of the day, she'll have a hard time swallowing her pride, watching you shoot through the roof. She'll say you suffocated her. You didn't allow her to grow. So she's going to look for somebody else where she can say, he'll allow me to be that. Which is why a lot of successful men then say, why would you date down? Well, she's dating down because her light, it shines brighter than his. And since it shines brighter than his, she then doesn't feel like not the biggest star in the room. Because that's all this really is about at the end of the day. Is she the biggest star in the room? If you allow her to be the biggest star in the room, she's fine. It's kind of when last episode, me and my brother-in-law was having a conversation. And we both were stating that you're afraid to go, most men are afraid to do for themselves and put themselves first. Because at the end of the day, we start to think, if we send ourselves first, that means we can't feed her ego anymore, which probably means this relationship is over. Because this relationship exists because of the way we've inflated that ego. How do I know? On my second marriage. Like I tell people, been around the block. Been in a few relationships, good and bad. Giving counsel on plenty of relationships. So, those type of things, I can see some of these type of things in certain women and certain men a mile away. It's a gift I have. But, I said for Hillary, we'll see. We know what the story is already. We know how the whole story ends, but we'll see how they write this character to modernize her. And we'll kind of see, if she allows those insecurities to manifest themselves in a relationship later. Because what she truly is, what they're telling you already, is what? Aunt Viv and her friends have said it. She's you when you were that age. Which we now get to Aunt Viv and Uncle Phil. Old Yamakra. His biggest issue is what? He's trying to win the election, but he's still trying to bridge the gap between being pro-black and being upper class at the same time. Because see, when you start talking about classism, we throw color out the window. But where it comes from, they don't understand it. All they see is color. Middle class and lower class, all they see is color. Everything is racism to them. When you get to upper class, it's just about what class you're in. Upper class understands already this is all just about class. Color really does not matter in this. Now, that's what Uncle Phil understands, but now he's becoming very far removed from the middle and lower class, but he needs that vote now. Ergo, why you pull the favors you do for Will. He's basically getting ready to use Will to run off of that. His campaign is basically not built on it, but hey, brought my nephew out here, giving him a better life, giving back to the community. Now, it's not genuine, but Will's story ain't genuine. Nobody's really being genuine in that situation. Will is out there because he's terrified for his life. But we'll get to that. But when Uncle Phil and Will talk, unlike the sitcom, this Uncle Phil now does what? Lets Will know, I understand. You have to make some better decisions, control your temper. But I do understand. See, with the sitcom, we didn't know Uncle Phil really had humble beginnings till his parents showed up the episode. And he was ashamed of him when they went to the dinner. He was being honored. And he was talking about what was his best friend was a pig on a farm or whatever that was. But, that's where we differentiate. Because I thought the sitcom was corny. I never was really a fan of, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I was more of when In the House came on, I was cool with that. I enjoyed Blossom, Alf. But, back in that day, even though we had cable, back then, cable was basically just running movies in syndicate. Everything was over and over and over. It was like listening to the radio these days. Same 10 songs play all day long. So, you watched it because it was the best thing. It was the best option at that point in time. So, but, Uncle Phil is trying to reach Will, but he can't at the same time. Because there still is a generational gap also. Uncle Phil grew up in a different time. So when Uncle Phil is growing up, he didn't really run into the problems. He didn't have the problems Will has at this point. So yeah, you understand what it's like to grow up, but you don't really understand what it's like to grow up in this type of environment. Yeah, do we still have to deal with racism, so-called racism, police brutality, trying to get a girlfriend, all those things? Sure. But this street element changes the dynamics of what men in their now 50s, well, not 50s, men in their 60s and 70s, when they come and talk to guys in their early 50s, 40s, 30s, 20s, there's a world that men in their 50s, 40s, 30s, 20s understand, and teens that the men in their 60s and 70s don't. They just didn't have to witness. They didn't have to live through that. But again, also, Uncle Phil didn't grow up in that type of environment. He's a country boy. He's really dealing with gang violence. But now he's having a problem reaching the black voters because they just see him as wealthy. They don't trust anything he says. And I was just having a conversation earlier about this, whereas people are finding out that, plastic hasn't been being recycled, and there's an uproar. And nobody believes that, and it's kind of just like, we're going to do better now recycling plastic. And it was the oil manufacturers who was producing the plastic. So everybody's making money hand over fist. That's fine. But there's also in previous episodes where I told you, I understand why those who don't get vaccinated don't get vaccinated, because the poor don't trust the rich. They never trusted the rich are doing things out of the kindness of their heart. There's always an agenda with it. So blacks don't really trust Uncle Phil because it's, hey, yo, you're going to stop police brutality. Are you going to defund the police? Now you see Lisa's father with the smirk. He's police commissioner, I think it was. You see him with the smirk when he says defund, but right. But again, you're dealing with color now instead of class. So when they say defund the police, logically, does it make sense? No. But, you're going to put that in there to appease the crowd. Again, this is why I tell you someone's not genuine, because logically he knows that defunding the police, that's not a good thing. That's not something. Police are it's underfunded to begin with. So to defund it means we're going to have less police out here. Less police mean more crime. I always tell people in the hood, police brutality is not the biggest problem in the so-called black community. That's one of the last things you got to worry about. So if you have even less police presence, that probably means the bigger issues that's going on in our communities, they're probably going to become an even bigger issue. But for those who don't really live there and aren't really involved in that, they don't really come from the belly of the beast, they don't see that. They just see it as police brutality is the biggest issue. So defund them then. That's fine, defund them. Who's going to now protect all these women who say, hey, yo, I'm getting raped? Because once you take police, the police are here to facilitate business. I don't know if you guys realize that, but they're not really here to catch criminals. They're here to make sure that capitalism works. Because as we scream defund the police, what have we seen more and more on the rise of? We talked about this a few episodes ago. Smash and grab. Retail theft and money lost is at an all-time high. We are in the, what was it, the teens of billions of dollars lost in retail theft. No police presence. The poor will, Robin Hood will give back. He will take and give back, believe me. So, Uncle Phil also shows you, though, in this is how politicians are. They'll tell you whatever you need to hear just to get the vote. So he kind of shows you still what type of man he is. Now, do they all mean well in the beginning? I believe they do. But the one thing I've learned, even with dealing with some of my so-called socially awkward friends, is when you find the socially awkward, the so-called nerds, they always scream about what they would do if they were in power. And once you give them power, what do you find out? That it even corrupts them absolutely. See, I've become a firm believer in absolute power does corrupt absolutely. I did not used to believe that. But I do believe now that Uncle Phil has gotten all of this. He cares more about image and brand now than when he probably got started and it was about, hey, I want to save the community. So we ended off with that part of it. But we also have the interaction with him and Viv, which is another conversation that we have, whereas you have a lot of women saying, I don't want to work. And I don't know how many episodes I've told you. For the most part, most educated women want a break from work just for a couple years. That's it. They'll pop out the babies, go shopping, do all of that. They'll be fine with that. Give them 3 to 5 years, they cool with that. But they won't ever be satisfied with it. A woman who's gone and become educated will never be happy. Wiping butts, cooking breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and carpooling children around, and laying there having sex with you. She'll never be satisfied with that being her world. Just not gonna happen. Now you get a boatload of women who always say, oh, I would more than be happy with that. But what do we end up finding out for the most part? Most women say, yo, I spent a boatload of money in school. I got student loan debts. And what about my purpose? Remember what I told you with Hillary? What about her shine? So now we have the issue of what? Aunt Viv trying to live her life through what? Aunt Viv is trying to live her life she was trying to live it through Hillary and her success. That's not satisfying the appetite though. She thought the election would satisfy the appetite. She thought saving Will would satisfy the appetite, but it's not. Only her passion will satisfy the appetite, which means what? I don't want to be a stay-at-home mom anymore. Now, remember when Phil and her was sitting there and he said, hey, you told me to be quiet when I was voicing my opinion about things. She said, I told you that? He said, yeah, remember when I was sitting back and you was in the spotlight and I was the one just supporting you. See, he was fine playing that role. And you know what's funny is most men are fine playing that role, but because a woman is not, she looks at a man at that point and says, guess what? He ain't really manly enough. Because what type of man would be comfortable in his woman outshining him? Because for most women, they don't play team sports. So they don't understand we're moving toward a common goal here. For them, it's all individual. It's all individuality. That's how they see it. They see it as I would never be comfortable. They think that they see marriage as a competition. Which is why they always have somebody match my hustle, because they think is he raises the bar and goes to get 150 grand. I'm gonna go get 170. I go get 170. He pushed to go get 250. But I thought the common goal was to raise these children, turn them into productive human beings, and us grow old together and continue to grow and become great friends. They don't see that. That's not really the common goal for them. The common goal for them is to match my hustle so that she can go to her friends and say, yo, he makes this, he does this, we go here, we go there. But in terms of a friendship, it's not. Now, people are looking on Viv and say, that's a great wife. I don't see that. I see a woman who's jealous of her child and jealous of her husband. And what is she doing now? I'm getting ready to go pursue my art dreams again in the middle of this important campaign. Why? Because it's going to always, like I told you, she needs to shine the brightest. She's going to come to you and tell you what? Man, I ain't really satisfied right now. Screw the common goal of let's get elected. No, her common goal is what? To be an artist. She's going to always choose who she is as an individual first, which is why I tell men, choose yourself and protect your peace, my man. Don't let them feed you that we're a team bull, because as they feeding you that, they operating in their own game over here. And they've been operating, playing their own game, which is why they benefit from the spoils of feminism, black feminism, the LGBTQ. They benefit from all of these things that's going on. And what do we benefit from? Just affirmative action. That's it. They benefit from affirmative action, sexism, feminism, and the LGBTQ. We don't get those benefits. Sorry. Only time we can come together is affirmative action. That's it. Outside of affirmative action, party's over for us. But Aunt Viv showed you at the end, she's going to choose herself over everything. So, even to what? The detriment of her own marriage. Even to the detriment of him winning this election. She wants to what? Shine. Because she sees what? Will is shining. Carlton is doing his thing. Everybody's pursuing their dreams. But Uncle Phil did what? He said, I sat and played the background. Because that was what we agreed to. For you to do what you were supposed to do and what you wanted to do. Once you did that, I was going to go pursue what I wanted. And now I'm doing that. And you're supposed to play the same role I played and support me. It's not what she's getting ready to do. Not what she wants to do. Let me not say it's not what she's getting ready to do. It's not what she wants to do. Same as Michelle told you. She didn't want to. I would much rather be pursuing my own thing so I can be the one who's shining. And that's fine also. See, I believe everybody should be evolving into their best selves in a relationship. I think my biggest issue with it all is women hold men to a different standard. When a man is supporting his woman and holding down every other aspect, she looks at him as weak. If she's the breadwinner and he's taking care, especially in black culture, not so much in white culture, but in black culture, she looks at him as weak, saying she's the breadwinner. His thing is, I could have done some other things and be out working. But if I'm working, how are our children going to be raised? We can have a nanny. No, we're supposed to be instilling our values into our children. So how are our children going to be raised? Who's going to be there to support them? If you're working 70, 80 hours a week and always on the road, and I'm working 50, 60 hours, who's parenting them? It's not a conversation our women want to have at this point. So we get to that part. But you also flip it, and it's what? When the man is doing all those things and he's not complaining, then you have the woman saying, hey, I want more out of life. When all that man is thinking is, I didn't have to pursue this avenue. I could have scaled things back and been living a more fruitful life at home, working less hours, spending more time with you and my children. But you wanted me to pursue this so I could take care of all you all to live this life and play this role. Then you come to me and say, I don't want to play this role anymore. I want my own. Well, now when you want your own, my world is centered around me working these hours, me being here, being there. I scale this back. I have to close some businesses up now. I have to lose some financial opportunities. I have to lose income if I scale back. Can you pick that up? Well, what I want to do is you keep doing what you're doing, and I want to do more of what I want to do, which means what? Y'all ain't gonna be in a relationship too much longer. Y'all living two separate lives now. When you home, she barely home. When she home, you barely home. And that's when the conversation comes of what? I want a divorce. I barely see you. Well, why you with this guy? He don't have half of what I have. Yeah, but he make time for me. You just told her 3 years ago you would have made time for her. What did she tell you? No, I still want to keep living the lifestyle I'm living. I just want to work. So now they do what? Now she's going to hit you for alimony, child support. She'll never marry the dude she left you for, because then what? You won't have to pay alimony anymore. So now it's the best of both worlds. That's why I tell men, once you get to a certain point, wealth-wise, financially, it's pointless to get married. You'll never be able to trust a woman that's truly there for you at that point. You'll never know whether you a mark or none of that. So then we get to Jeffrey. Jeffrey is still an enigma. But you know, they got dude from Philly. Spoiler alert. I don't even say nothing. You know, they've renamed Jeffrey's role as house manager, which is cool because that's how it was on the sitcom. Jeffrey was really the father in the house. Viv was there, but Jeffrey was kind of the one always giving advice, taking the kids everywhere, going to games, picking them up, doing all that, washing clothes, cooking, cleaning. So basically, he was raising the children, which is, again, what most men who are the head of the household, they don't want. They want the mother raising the children because they know their values are being passed down to the children. When you allow the nanny to raise the children, you guys may not have the same values as the nanny or the house manager. So now different values are being instilled in your children, and you can't really keep up with it because you ain't home. So, and as long as they are progressing and not telling you that they're being hurt or harmed in any way, you're not gonna really, trip or pay attention one way or the other. So we get to Will and Carlton, the so-called cool kid at his school, which is always, when you're the only black kid in a white school, you kind of always the token dude. And you're going to always have a little bit more swag, and white kids are always going to be enamored by you and all of these things. And it just is what it is. So, Will is going through what most young men go through. And again, we just had this conversation last episode. If Will would have died on that court that night, he dies with what? He dies as being seen as a great basketball guy, but also would have died at the hands of a thug. So now they would have painted a few different pictures. Basketball player involved in gang activity, drug activity, who knows why he died. The real story would have never got put out there. Because that's the way it goes. but the ego. So again, when you're that young, it's like I said, I was given that chance, that second chance. I told the story, what episode, what was that, one or two? When the guy pulled the gun on me and said, "Hey, I'm not gonna keep taking ass whoopings from your big ass." And from that day, there was a change for me where it's like, hey, you're associating yourself with the wrong people and you getting yourself in some situations you really shouldn't be in. Now, it didn't stop. It still took a few more years for that message to completely sink in and for me to completely leave hanging around street dudes alone, just in general. But that moment was an eye opener for me where it was, hey, this could have been it today. And see, for Will thing was, hey, yo, when you're 15, 16, we all think we're invincible. We don't think we can die. So you kind of maneuvering around life and it's just like, it's gonna be a tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow ain't guaranteed. But when you're that young, you don't really understand that. You don't believe that. And you don't even think too far ahead to, hey, I can get shot here either. Which is also crazy. But, that's real. That, hey, dude ended up hitting him in the head with the ball. And he thought Will did it. Well, he didn't think Will did it, but he asked who did it, and Will popped off. Instead, hey, it wasn't me. See, that's one thing when you kind of deal with it is, Will was seen as a what? Well, let me not go that far. Will didn't understand, hey, respect. See, I always tell my daughters, when you say something to somebody, you get ready to hit somebody, always ask yourself, you willing to die for this? Because the second you disrespect somebody, that may be what it takes to end this. If you're going to have to kill him or her, or they're going to kill you. So yeah, when you punch a dude or you smack somebody, always ask yourself, am I really ready to die behind this? Now, if you are, go ahead. Go right ahead. If you're not, it's okay to live to see tomorrow. It really is. Because now Will gets locked up. Now they have to Uncle Phil has to pull all these strings, get him out of jail. They get him on the next flight out to Bel-Air. Well, I like what they did with Carlton. They showed what? Carlton's already dealing with the peer pressure of being around white rich kids, which is what? Hard drugs, which is what I tell people. If you think, you have urban and inner city black kids portrayed as thugs and drug users, they just smoking weed. When you start mingling around in private schools with white children, you start seeing some stuff, man. You got kids doing acid, meth, mushrooms, coke, heroin. They hitting it all. If it's a drug, they snorting it. Adderall, whatever it is they can find, Oxycontin, they doing it, man. So when you talking inner city kids, you just really talking weed and guns. That's it. Once you put your children in that environment, you putting them in an environment with a lot of options. So you see Carlton in a different light than what we saw him on the sitcom. We see Carlton as a what? Somebody already who has a drug issue. Now, I'm pretty sure they're going to go more in depth on why Carlton has this drug issue, because we really don't know yet. Him and Lisa have kind of talked around it, but we don't know what's really the root of Carlton's depression out there. I suspect they'll write it in that the pressure of just being a cool black kid and living up to the legacy of his father. But we'll know. And the pressure of that is none of this is normal for what he's doing. See, Will comes out there and does what? He's just being Will. And so with him just being Will, Carlton looks at him and he's, why is he allowed to be silly and goofy? That's why they look at him as the Pookie. See, the Carltons of the world, the so-called educated lane, they look at all of us as Pookies because we don't talk the way they talk. We don't dress the way they dress. They don't even know whether we have good grades or not. They assume we don't. They assume he's only here because he can put a ball through a hoop. They assume he's only here in an elite school because he can play sports. Or he's the token kid. Not because he's actually smart and has swag also. That's just the assumption they make. See, the Carltons will always say people are stereotyping, but they love to stereotype the Pookie and the Ray Ray. Not even knowing what a Pookie and a Ray Ray really is. See, a Pookie and a Ray Ray is the deadbeat daddy. He's the dude who's just out selling drugs, killing people, not taking care of his children, any of that. That's a Pookie and a Ray Ray. I've always stated when people say black people don't have a culture, I do have a culture. I'm hip hop. That's my culture. The Carltons don't see hip hop as a culture. The Carltons of the world see white America as a culture. That's the standard. That's how everyone should behave. Suit and tie, all of that. But it's why they get so jealous when they see us being able to communicate with women so well. I get better grades than him. I know this, I know that. I'm going to be a lawyer and a doctor. They told me if I do all these things, I can get the girl at the end. That works in white culture. It doesn't work in black culture. They also look down on us because they think, how could he be getting girls and I can't? There's no book for human-to-human interactions. You either got it or you don't. You either comfortable in your skin or you're not. Now, I hung around Carltons. I still actually enjoy hanging around Carltons because I still enjoy having intellectual conversations. You get tired of talking about, when you're dealing with hip hop culture, the conversations are going to be basically built around the woke community, Democrat, Republicans, basketball, football, and rap. And what chicks look good and who don't. Now, when I go into hanging out with the Carltons, guess what we can talk about? We can talk about philosophy. We can talk about comic books. We can talk about video games. We can talk about a whole bunch of things when you go hang out with the Carltons. Problem is, the hip hop culture is unapologetic for how we talk and how we behave. We're fine with who we are in our own skin. The Carltons aren't. So see, they're ashamed to tell a girl we like comic books. And look how the world is turned. We lived in a world where people made fun of comic books. And now all of these comic books are the most popular movies everywhere. Everybody wants to know about this. Now, we could have been in this world a lot sooner had the Carltons did what? Been more comfortable in their skin and say, yeah, I enjoy Ninja Turtles. I enjoy DC Comics. I enjoy Marvel Comics. But it was that dark, dirty secret. They're ashamed of who they are, so they go around and they masquerade around as what? Another man from another culture. So, there's the jealousy already of Carlton seeing Will being able to ingratiate himself with other people. And he just looks at him still as a buffoon, though. No different than they looked at us back in the old days. Yo, he's a clown because he can make people laugh. So, We get to the fight with Carlton and Will. And what is this about? A girl. Carlton lost a girl at the end of the day. And with Carlton losing a girl, you still have you have him being very jealous because he now sees what? Will has the girl. So pushes up on Will, got a few drugs, got his liquid and his powdered courage in his system. And, he pushed Will in the pool. We won't even talk about it, but typical black man can't swim. Girl comes down, like we talked about in the Matrix, saves him, but this ain't what this is about either. So we get to them in school now. And Carlton is basically, hey, yo, this is my crew. This is this crew. But now he's starting to find out is Will is building his own crew. It's people who want to hang with Will. And Carlton can't figure it out. Will don't have to be the smartest here. Why doesn't he have to be the smartest and talk the most proper and act the best? Why can he just act normal and get all of this love? That's where the jealousy comes from between the educated, so-called educated lane and the misclassified Pookie, because Will isn't a Pookie or Ray Ray. He's just a guy from the hip-hop culture, which is why I say a lot of us get misclassified is that and lumped in because the Carltons really don't understand the hip-hop culture. But the jealousy comes in because it's why can he be himself and get all the love and I can't? Do you understand the pressure I am under to pretend to be this person day in and day out, for you guys to accept me? He can come in and be himself and you guys love it. So it's why Carlton is okay with them planting drugs on his cousin. And see, for me, that's where I'm at. If I'm Will, you guys know my story already from previous episodes. Blood or not, that's where our relationship ends. Because see, for me at that point, we can't repair that type of damage. When we talking backstabbing to that level, where you willing to put me in jail or get me kicked out of school, or like I told you, sullying my name over some box. That's all this is over. That's all the dysfunction is between the so-called educated lane and the misclassified Pookie. It's all over vagina. That's all it's ever been over. It's access to the vagina. Like I said, we've stated this when I did the Boyce Watkins episode, 60 episodes ago. That's all this has ever been about. It's always been about why did she choose him over me? I did everything that society told me I was supposed to do to get the girl. She didn't choose me. Why does he get to have all of this and get all of the fun and get the goodies and get the vagina and I don't? And he doesn't bring any of the things I bring to the table. So, now we get to Will making the team, and Carlton is in the tub, and he's like, "What you doing in here, Will? This is athletes only." Will telling me make the team. It's like, how did you hustle your way into that? Because again, doesn't feel like he's worthy. And Carlton figured, hey, once we got into this fight, he can't play sports. I've messed his name up here. My name is good here, but I've messed his name up and showed people, yo, he's a thug. They won't put him on the team. But sports is a meritocracy, and the best 95% of the times in sports, the best will always be on the court. But he told Carlton that day, I see what you're doing. And he was like, hey, yo, I'm going to get in your head. And Will was like, I'm already living rent-free in your head. But it's also what Will told him, though, with that. I'm going to take everything you got. I'm going to be the coolest now. I'm going to have the girls. And I'm going to be the best athlete here. And you know why it hurt Carlton and stung him so much? because he sees how effortless Will does it. Carlton looks in the mirror and says, I have to work extra hard at this. But see, if Carlton was just being himself, he could still be a great lacrosse player, but he wouldn't have to work extra hard at just what? Loving comic books, playing video games. If that's who you are, you don't have to work extra hard to be who you are. You only got to work extra hard when you're trying to be something you're not, because you're always studying their trends, their movements to try and fit in and stay up with it. When you're just being you, you just be you. Yo, I just roll out the bed. This is me every day, all day. So, we get to them now going together to try and get votes for Uncle Phil. And, Carlton having to figure out, it's like, why can't I get these people to vote for him? And Will had to explain to him, because you can't relate. They'll never trust you. And again, that's why I tell you, there's a disconnect from impoverished Black people to well-off. They don't even consider well-off Black people as a part of Black culture for some odd reason. I don't know why that is. But see, that's also the jealousy, because those who are impoverished think those who are well-off have it better than them. Now, do they have a head start? Sure they do, but they have their problems just like you have your problems. Now, it's just for the impoverished person, he thinks money ain't your problem. For the person who's well off, he's telling them, I would give all the money away if I could just have a mother to come home to and kiss every day, have a home cooked meal, not have all of the pressure I have on me to be number one, to be the only Black person in this school, to have every move I make stared at. I would give it all up to be normal. Like, when you talk to a lot of wealthy people, they always state, once they get wealthy and they've enjoyed that ride, they always come in and state, yeah, I could probably go back and get this all up for a regular 9 to 5. This ain't all what it's cracked up to be. Because once you become wealthy, the higher up you go up the food chain, now you don't even know what's real and fake love no more. You don't know who you can trust. You don't know who's around because of you, who's around because you're providing something for them. So, Will is the only one who can communicate with the voters. They trust Will. They trust the lingo. They think he's one of us. But we also have what? We also have them two at the Alpha meeting, where again, we talk about Uncle Phil being what? Looked at as a sellout, because he's ascended to higher heights than the rest of the guys. And this, hey, bro, how are you giving back? Hey, I'm busy. Which a lot of normal people don't understand. They think when you're wealthy, you got a shitload of time. No, you're a millionaire, dog. You don't have a lot of time. There's not a lot of time in a 24-hour day. The more money you make, the more you start to realize that. The more ventures you're a part of, the more pots you have your hand in, you start to realize time is very valuable and it's very short in a 24-hour day. But people don't realize that, because they just look at it as, hey, you got money. I still got to work 9, 10, 11 hours just like you. I still now have to go kiss babies and go do this and go do this and worry about this business and that business, take this phone call, that phone call. We talking 15, 16 hours of nothing but work. And I still need to come home, kiss my children, have a conversation with my wife. We talking 17, 18, 19 hours. We talking 5 hours of sleep. But most people just look at hey, look at them on vacation. Or look at this. There's a lot of time. Even if they see you at home, they think, yo, he's playing. No, I'm reading this book to sharpen up on whatever I'm into now. Or I'm studying this. Or my hands are in this to worry about the next venture I'm doing. But the mind of a millionaire is always moving. It's never really sitting idle. But you get them at that, and you see Carlton playing nice with the guy. And the guy tell him, "Hey, I wish you would have told me, but I'm no longer the leader. I'm no longer in control of this. Somebody else is." So now Carlton feels like an idiot while he watches Will what? Be silly again, and everybody's laughing. And he gets what? He gets them to back Uncle Phil because he gets Uncle Phil to do what? Come and do the alpha dance. Him doing the dance and line stepping again does what? It gets them down to, hey, they come on back around Uncle Phil. You know what? Yeah, he still is one of us. He still will get down and do his thing if we need him to. But again, Carlton looks at that. He looks at that as what? Exactly. He looks at all of that as Will has done it again. Why is he able to be so captivating, charismatic, cool, silly, and they don't think he's just this dumb hood? Now, we also get to when Carlton had the lacrosse game and all that anger came out. They kicked him out. And he goes and he sees what? He sees Will hit the game-winning shot, fans going crazy, parents still there, and he can't believe it. He's seeing it. Will is taking to school and my girl from me right as we speak. And my family and my father is now talking to him about sports and basketball. He's more interested in this than he is in me with lacrosse. Which really had to hurt because it wasn't a parent in the stand at that lacrosse game, which means they was probably always the only parents in the stands at that lacrosse game. But the one thing, I guess wrapping it up, is you do get a chance to, this highlighted the conversation between the misclassified Pookie and the so-called educated Lane. It shows that disconnect. It shows the jealousy, the envy, when in fact, both envy each other at times. He just doesn't see that because he thinks the educated Lane looks at the misclassified Pookie as he has it all. Because for Carlton, the Carltons really want to be more famous than rich. And that's what the Carltons realize the women want also. They just want the attention. They want to be around somebody who's popular. They don't really care about the money. Now, once the Carltons get older, they really realize that and they say, the money don't even matter to these women. No, I really don't. They'll settle for it. But if they could have somebody with 60, 70,000 Instagram followers and he makes 70, 80 grand, then he's taking them out a few times a year and she's able to see 3, 4, 500 likes on her Instagram or people liking it, she'll take that over a man making $1 million in a heartbeat. She'll always choose to be more famous than rich. It's going to always be about the attention. It's the feeling she gets when she's with him. And that's also something the educated Lane is jealous of. He's never been one of the cool kids, never had the swag. So he does his best to shit on the misclassified Pookie every chance he gets. To say, how dare you like that? That's ignorance. Now, the Carltons they'll be in the club dancing to the what? To the so-called Pookie's music. They'll dance to all the rap music if the ladies are doing it. If the ladies say, wear your hair like this or wear these clothes, they'll do all of that. Because what? For the Carlton, it's just all about the vagina. For the misclassified Pookie, the Will Smiths, I won't even say the Will Smiths. I don't know what his last name. I don't know if it was Banks on the show. I should look at what Will's last name is on there. But for Will on the show, it's just I see a girl I like and I want to see what's to it. Let's see what it goes. If it's for an eternal journey, it's for an eternal journey. If it's not, then let's just ride this till the wheels fall off. Whether that's 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. For the Carltons, it's no, I want to drink her bath water. I want this to be forever, no matter what. She really doesn't want to be chased or worshipped on that level by her man. She wants to be chased and worshipped by children, sure, not by a man. And she loves to be able to say she changed the misclassified pool. I turned him into a so-called Carlton, because for Black women, the perfect Black man is to mix Carlton with Will. Get him to go to work, get him to be somewhat intellectual, still keep his swag. That really hasn't happened just yet. I mean, it's a few hood nerds out here, but there's really not too many of us out here. It's a few thousand of us out here. Not too many of us though. But their perfect guy is the hood nerd. And this is your boy, the hood nerd. I'm out.